Hello, everybody. Hello. This is Chris Barron. This is the live stream for the 21st of October. Let's actually bring this closer together. Okay, there you go. So, the 21st of October, Adobe Max is in full swing. And if you don't know what that is, that's basically an event where Adobe presents everything they've done over the past year. So, it's a pretty big thing. Basically, all the programs get a bunch of new features and various improvements, and I'm actually gonna talk about them fairly briefly because I don't think um, I'm gonna say my piece in just a few minutes. But the essence of it is, while there are some exciting changes, there's nothing really that's gonna change the way you work day to day. There's nothing really that's gonna make you say, okay, wow, this has blown my mind. There's loads of lovely stuff, but in essence, it's not gonna be something that's gonna totally transform the way you work. It's constant improvements. Let me actually share my screen so we can get the show on the road. We're also gonna review some designs that were posted in the Review My Work channel. We're gonna do this website, this Instagram post, I think this, yeah, basically an Instagram ad, this one and this one. So we're gonna talk about all that. But first, I want to bore you just a little bit with something a bit personal regarding my oatmeal business in Romania. This is a healthy food business that I launched in November 2018, so about 2 years now or something like that. And it's something that has been constantly on my mind for these last 6 months. I would say I've really started to put in absolutely everything into it. My time, my energy, my money, absolutely everything. And I'm really happy that on all fronts things have been going great. And I really want to show you this specific thing. And if you've been following my streams, you probably know what I'm about to show you. This is the conversion rate. This is for today. So this is 4.89. So nearly 5%, which is absolutely incredible. It's fantastic. I'm really over the moon with it because most people, at least in the e-commerce business, they're very happy with 2%, right? So having more than double that value is absolutely phenomenal. And why is that the case? That's the case for two reasons. Number one, the website is very well optimized, organized, and the information is displayed in such a way where you trust it. And the checkout process is, again, very easy to use. It still has some issues, it still has some kinks, but overall, that's a reflection of the quality that I've done in terms of web design by constantly nibbling at it. So I would say that in essence, these last 6 months, the change log has at least 200 items, at least 200 small changes, whether it's the corner radius of a button, making something a lighter gray, a darker gray, adding a text layer here and there. So all that combined, all those 200 things, is gonna translate into a higher conversion rate. The second aspect is the trust aspect. I've been constantly active on social media here in Romania, and I've been constantly putting out material day in, day out on Instagram and Facebook, and stories as well, and the newsletter, which is absolutely exhausting. So this is why I haven't been able to do as many things as I would have liked to do. Specifically, I really wanted to create the English version of the book that's already out here. I wrote a book. It's called 1 Million out of Photoshop. And it's basically a book about my life, even though I'm only 31. And I really wanted to make a course on Udemy basically telling my story because I think it's a pretty interesting one. Unfortunately, I didn't have the time to do that because of this new business. And right now we're having growing pains, but we'll talk more about that in just a second. The idea is that this conversion rate is beautiful. And let me just show you, for example, last 7 days. Okay. And more importantly, last 90 days. So as you can see here, this has gone up constantly. I mean, I'm really so happy about it, and it's really something that I'm really proud of. Even though, truth be told, it's not like, it's out of this world. It's not outstanding. It's not absolutely incredible. I mean, I'm sure that other people may have similar results or even better results. So by no means am I saying that this is a huge achievement. But for me, it is one, because again, this is a result of my constant effort, of my constant tinkering. Because again, that change log is absolutely huge. In every single week, I spend time and obviously money with by working with a development company, and I was constantly adjusting this, adjusting that, and so on. So again, I'm really happy about it because it's a direct result of my work day in, day out. And that's something that I would love for so many other people, for most of my students to understand, that it's not something where you change it, and it goes straight up. It's not something that happens overnight. It's bit by bit by bit by bit. It's 1% every single day. And if you don't really take a step back and really look at it, you might not recognize all your progress. So it's something that I feel it really happens most often than not. When you're so close to the problem, you're so keen on winning and making progress that you don't really realize how far along you've come, how much progress you've actually made. Because we tend to get fixated on the end result, whatever that may be, whatever, 100 orders per day, whatever it may be, being able to create an Instagram ad that converts, whatever, creating a website that looks like whatever. We fixate on those things, and when it doesn't happen immediately, we get disappointed. And I really think that's a shame. That's part of the things that I'm trying to share with the world. And again, just trying to appreciate everything that you're able to achieve, even though you're not completely satisfied. At least appreciate that you've made some progress, and 1% every single day is gonna add up. And in 6 months, in a year, in 2 years, you're not gonna be able to recognize yourself. Bringing it back to other things, to more concrete things, we're gonna jump into these design reviews in just a moment, and we're gonna talk about Adobe Max in just a second. Again, right now, what I'm doing, I'm handling the growing pains. So basically, what happened, what's happening right now at my oatmeal business is the following. We had about 2 months ago, we had about 150 orders. Then we had about 260, 270. Now we're doing 550. And probably the next month, we're going to do about 700 orders or something like that. And it's the same staff. I'm trying to hire, but the hiring process takes time. You really have to spend a whole lot of time to make sure that you're hiring the right people. So right now, there's a lot of growing pains. So we're happy that we're getting more sales, that we're sending out more healthy food all across the country. But obviously, people are stressed out, and I'm trying to manage that stress. I'm trying to hire new people. I'm trying to make sure that the website is stable. I'm trying to make sure that we have the right number of boxes, materials, ingredients, that everybody keeps the quality high and whatnot. And that's absolutely exhausting. Physically, I'm really not. I would say I'm at about a 5 out of 10 in terms of energy. Maybe lower than that, maybe a 4 out of 10. But in my soul, I'm really happy. So that's what really matters at the end of the day. I think as long as you're happy inside, even though you're a bit, tired from, staying so much, on a single task, it's totally fine as long as you're happy. Now, going back to the changes from Adobe Max. Basically, someone already posted them, and I'm really happy that someone posted them. You're about to see that it's not really something that you're going to be extremely excited about. And that's because I've actually talked to quite a few people at Adobe. I recently had a call with a product manager at Photoshop, and the people are great. And they're doing fantastic stuff, and the company is really profitable. They made about $3 billion with a B, $3 billion in terms of profit, if I remember that article correctly. So they're doing great stuff. The problem is, as far as I'm concerned, the performance just isn't there. Photoshop is not fast enough, and when you compare it to Adobe XD, which is obviously a totally different animal, a totally different program with fewer capabilities, you tend to see my point. It's still very, very slow. You still need a great computer. And I find that's something that should be higher on the priorities list. I think that would be the number one thing that I would focus on. Now, obviously, that's something extremely difficult to do. They said that in this specific version, it's faster than ever. But overall, I'm still not 100% happy about their focus. And you can see that right here, the sky replacement, replacing the sky in a photo. Now, we actually do that in one of my exercises. And it's not really all that difficult. Obviously, the feature is automatic. It's just one click and that's that. But yeah, overall, replacing the sky, I'm not sure if that's what we needed. Then we have various other things like, for example, we have something here regarding neural filters, which is, again, beautiful, fantastic, a one-click a solution for colorizing photos and, doing all sorts of things, correcting, various skin issues and whatnot. But again, is it gonna transform the way you work? I doubt it. Now, obviously, I'm gonna create updated lectures and new videos for my courses, and we're gonna talk about all of them, even though it's, for example, pattern preview. You're gonna be able to create patterns in Photoshop. I mean, yeah, again, for some people that's absolutely fantastic. That's beautiful. For other people that use subtle patterns, for example, subtlepatterns.com, it's, I would much rather have a faster Photoshop than one with neural filters and sky replacement and whatever else, right? I think the biggest change right now is the fact that select and mask, where basically the workspace that you use when you want to cut out someone from their background and they have crazy hair and various strands of hair, that's much better. I think that's something that's really going to impact your day-to-day life and your day-to-day work in Photoshop. But yeah, the rest, it's fine, it's great, but it's not really something that's, incredible. More on Adobe Max. If you're not sure, it's about 50 hours of content. So I'm gonna go all through all those 50 hours. But what I've seen so far is a big push for the iPad. Illustrator for iPad, which is a first, Photoshop for iPad, and basically they're just trying to make sure that you work on whatever device you want, from your phone to your iPad, to your cloud documents, to your laptop, to your desktop, and so on. So that's the number one thing. If you don't want to watch Adobe Max, which I'm sure that is not something that's high up in your to-do list, that's basically it. There's a huge push into to working on your iPad Pro, basically, which is, again, totally fine for some people. I personally never use. I don't have an iPad. I would not buy an iPad anytime soon. I would not work on my projects on an iPad. I would just stick to a dual screen setup on a desktop computer, which is the best bang for your buck. I think, I don't think I'm a minority. I think most people would agree that's the best way to work on a serious project. But on the other hand, I'm totally fine with, them spending part of those $3 billion on working on other things that's going to make other people happy. So that's why it's a bit of a love-hate relationship right now, because, again, neural filters and whatever else, that's fantastic, but I just want to see more focus on making Photoshop faster. That's the number one thing that I would like to do. A company that has so many billions of dollars should be able to do that. Now, let's do some reviews, because I think if you've managed to stick with me for so long, I think you're going to be happy that we actually talk about some Photoshop stuff and some designs. Let's actually start with something fairly simple. And let's start with this one, which is basically a Facebook cover done by one of my students. And this is looking quite good. This is pretty okay. There's one thing in particular that I would like to point out when you're creating something like this. Number one, your typography has to be on point, and this specific font is absolutely beautiful. I love it. I think the way you use it is totally fine. All caps, very sharp, very manly. This is great. And in contrast, something a bit more playful, a bit fun. I think this is the type of thing that you can implement in all your designs, no matter what it is, right? If it's for Facebook, Instagram, if it's for the business card or whatever, something serious, something polished, something chiseled, and something with a bit of personality. I think that's the key. I think that's what most people appreciate. Not too much personality, because obviously that would not be ideal. It just goes over the top and you're going to push back some people, but not too serious either, right? So I think this is a good fit. Now, what I would love to see is a different color here for this underline. I appreciate the fact that you watched some of my previous live streams and you actually stole that idea. That's perfect. That's one of the reasons why I do this. But yeah, a different color, because there's just too much blue going on here. It's a bit too much. Another thing, Photoshop training is way overstated. This is way too big for my taste. Shrink it down. I understand that you have loads of room, loads of empty room, but you shouldn't fear empty space. Empty space is called white space or negative space, and that's totally fine. If you watch $1 Million Listing New York, for example, and you watch, you know, $2, $3, $5 million apartments in New York, ultra luxurious, what you're gonna see is that most apartments and, you know, buildings and houses and whatnot, the higher the price, the emptier they are, right? You see loads of empty space, right? So just being able to afford that empty space says something. For us, seeing vast amounts of open space, empty space, says something. It gives us that feeling of luxury. It's the same thing regarding our designs. We don't need to fill up all this space. We don't need to. It's totally fine to stand alone. It's totally fine to have your items a bit smaller. And the way I see it is, like, I'm not a smoker, for example, but when I was talking to someone, he said that, man, obviously I'm gonna smoke, because if I'm not smoking, I'm just a guy sitting. I'm just a weird guy just sitting there. What should I do? Keep my hands in my pockets? That would be weird. You know, if someone sees me, he's gonna say, hey, look at that guy just sitting there all by himself. But if I'm smoking, then I'm doing something. All of a sudden, that seems normal. It's the same thing here. You're thinking, hey, I gotta fill this empty space. I gotta fill it. Because otherwise, what's gonna happen with all this empty space? That's not cool. And I'm guessing this is why you actually created, I'm not sure if you can see it through the screen recording. This is why you probably repeated all these words here, which is, again, an interesting tactic. It's something, it's a decent approach. The problem is you added this, let's call it whatever, let's call it a text effect. You also added these stripes, this pattern basically, on top of an image with a low opacity, and then you slapped a rectangle on it as well. So as you can see, the sandwich is a bit too much, right? We don't want a plain piece of bread and just some cheese. Obviously, that would not be enough, but we don't want 20 things as well, right? Because it's just too hard to digest. It's just too overwhelming. So what I would suggest is simplify it. Keep it simple, you know, remove some of them, and you're gonna be much happier with it. Especially since I would say that most people watching this stream will not be able to tell what's going on here. They would not spot it, right? So again, simplify it, make this a bit smaller, and whenever possible, again, try and combine, again, these types of feelings, because basically these are feelings. This is something serious and powerful, chiseled, professional, and this is something friendly with personality, happy, easygoing. And again, a bit too much blue for my taste. Again, blue is the easy way out because it matches everything and it's totally fine, because again, it's the safe way to go about it. But yeah, overall, I think you could do a bit better there. Moving on to this one. Now, again, my focus is really on improving. The way I improved my business was obviously doing ads, Facebook and Instagram ads. So I'm really a bit obsessed about, you know, creating the perfect ad, and I've tried, you know, videos and various types of commercials, static photos, basically serious ones, fun ones, memes, whatever, you know, the actual product and nothing else. Loads of typography and the jar really small. I've tried various things, and I'm still trying constantly. I'm still trying to get the best results. What I'm seeing here is basically a stereotype. I'm not sure how that's pronounced. Stereotype. stereotype pronunciation. Let's see how that's okay. Stereotype. So what I see here is a stereotype, mostly because of this font. So the yellow shade is absolutely beautiful. I love it. I think it's perfectly fine. It's a very lovely shade. I'm not sure why you didn't use the same one here, but maybe that's the logo and that's the actual color code. I don't like this part right here. I don't like it simply due to the fact that you're assuming that if we're designers, we're gonna appreciate this type of font, right? And I don't like that. It's the same way, you know, when some people see a baby, they start talking gibberish, right? They start making those sounds and whatnot because they think that's how a baby talks. They think that's how a baby understands them, right? And that's totally fine when you're dealing with a baby, but when you're dealing with a graphic designer or the designer in general, don't assume that you have to tailor the message in a way where it's don't resort to cliches. I think that's what I'm trying to say. And this for me is a cliche. This is a font that really has no place in being here. It doesn't do anything for me. It just makes me think that this is a stereotype, and it's a bit too friendly. It's not at all serious. There's no doses of seriousness here. There's nothing here that would say that, hey, this is an ad for me. Let's actually see what this is about. So arena animation. Do you want to step in your career? Do you want to step in your career in graphic design? In graphics design. Okay, so the text is horrible as far as I'm concerned, but obviously I'm not a native English speaker, so I don't like the actual copy. I don't like the formatting. I think you overused this shade of yellow because it's a bit too much for my taste. I think the blue you chose is way too dark. Obviously the contrast is beautiful here, but you get all this space right here where nothing is really happening. And obviously the focus would be on this typeface, but it's not all that great. For me, this is very similar to Lobster. And Lobster is one of those fonts that beginner designers love to... You want to step in. Beginner designers love to use it, and it's really overused. Let me actually see if I have it installed. I may not have installed it. It actually is here. So if you're familiar with this typeface, Lobster and Lobster 2, you should know that you should stay away from it. It's fancy, obviously, but again, it's so overused that's become a cliche, a stereotype, and you should stay away from it. So overall, I think this is a failure. It's not interesting enough. It doesn't do anything for me. And yeah, overall, what I would say is you should start from scratch. You don't really have a call to action here. Obviously, swipe up would be considered a call to action. But yeah, I would do something completely different. And I think I'm gonna end it there because I still have quite a few other things to go through. So let's take it one by one. We have these two websites, and let's take them one by one. By the way, if you have any questions, please just let me know in the general chat, and then I'll do my best and see what's what. Okay, let's go back. Okay, spooky and mysterious stories. So the first impression is actually great. I love the font. I would love to see what font this is. Let's see if match font. By the way, this has been improved, or at least they say it was improved. Let's see if we can actually find it. Oh, is it Quicksand Bold? That would be fantastic. Let's see. Spooky. Yep, I think it is. Wow, this is a beautiful font on this specific background. I think this works lovely. This is fantastic. What I would do though, I would decrease the line height just a bit, and again I would reduce this space here. Monthly subscriptions for reading and listening to Halloween books. Halloween might be with a capital H. So this part is lovely. This seems to be like a custom shape or an icon. This is totally fine, works well. The illustration in the background, again, this is beautiful. I'm not really sure though for reading and listening. I'm guessing these are books and audiobooks. Yeah, I think this is pretty good. This is pretty okay as well, though you should, whenever possible, you should integrate the same call to action from the hero area to this place right here. And if you don't, which is totally fine and acceptable, especially when you have a fairly short hero area, you should include the register button here, log in and register. That's mandatory as far as I'm concerned. Because again, even though this may be a landing page, and I'm not going to get into all of that, what happens if I'm already logged, if I already have an account? So what happens if I already have an account? What do I do, right? So that's, web design one-on-one, right? Where you fail to recognize the actual usability of the site. How am I supposed to use it? Let's not use fancy words, right? How am I supposed to log in or register, right? Well, you could say that registered should be here. Okay, that's totally fine. But again, assuming that I'm already registered, what then? But let's stay on track. I love the shade of gray here. Let's see the color code. Oh, it's actually not gray. We actually have white on white with a subtle shadow. Okay, this is pretty good. From my angle here, because I'm set at an angle, I thought this was gray, but this is pretty good. The author name is basically invisible here, so that's quite disappointing. I would love to see what happens if the text is a bit longer. If it's on 2 lines, how would that work? I think that's going to be really difficult. Because obviously it looks really clean right now, but I think that's gonna be a problem. And let me actually not skip over this part. Using a stroke here is a horrible idea. It's something that you should avoid at all cost. Let the button be as it is. A simple rectangle, a strong saturated color, and that's that. Bright, saturated, that's all that you need. Maybe a bit wider, a bit taller, and that's that, right? But don't use this stroke, because all of a sudden now it looks a bit pixelated. It looks a bit fuzzy, right? So that's the consequence of using a stroke, especially a 1 pixel stroke. This is why in general, when I use strokes, I try to avoid using the 1 pixel value. I use 2 or 3 pixels, because again, when you're dealing with a chunky line, even though 2-3 pixels isn't all that thick, it shows intent. It shows your intention. It's clear to everybody that that's what you wanted to do. When you're using a 1 pixel line, it's a bit fuzzy. Let's keep on going. Popular genres. Okay, this is pretty good. I love this stuff. These are very small things that, again, on 99 Designs, most clients would really love this type of design. These types of things, the attention to detail. This is pretty good as well, though I think this is the place where it really, I don't think this specific client would appreciate it, simply because we're not sure what this is. So while you chose very beautiful illustrations that all match, that they're from the same pack, which is again commendable, I applaud you for that, we're not actually sure what this is. Obviously we can read it, ghost scares and whatever, mummy memories and whatnot, but we're not really sure what's here. So I think the client would actually appreciate something that's less attractive, but a bit clearer, right? Maybe an actual image of a product, of a key product, right? Or something like that. I would probably do something at an angle, basically a clipping mask here, and basically here at an angle. And I would move the text a bit smaller on 2 lines, and I would just say mummy memories. So basically just move that about here, and just move this about here. Oops. Anyway, you get the idea. Let's keep on going, because we're already at 29 minutes. Pricing options. Again, make sure that you don't have any typos. The ghosts, okay, pretty good. The fact that the graphic here is pixelated is a no-go. This is not cool. Now, what you can do if you're dealing with a low quality image, you can actually see that it's really low quality here. You can obviously just lower its opacity and /or add the colored overlay. And by adding a colored overlay and playing with its opacity, you should have a much better time with it. Okay, social media here, not great. When you're dealing with a colored background, with a colored rectangle, in this case orange, don't go for colored icons. So this is a clash in my book. I don't like it. I don't. It's not good. This was a slam dunk. White icons, with an outline, maybe not filled. Well, actually, you could go both ways, filled or outlined. That would have been a slam dunk. And another thing, you either center this menu and show intent, that you show that that's what you wanted to do, center it horizontally, or you bring it closer together to these icons, right? Not too close together, so not something like that, but maybe something like that, right? So enough where you would not accidentally click on this side if you wanted to click on this side. But yeah, this shows that this forms one unit, because that's basically what we want. We want to show that this is one single unit. Let's see what else. Online education portal. The logo is horrible, unfortunately. This is not a good looking website. Let's quickly go through it, but I think most of you guys know why this isn't a great website. But let's go through the motions, because I think, for people that are just tuning in, I think this still may be helpful. So let's take it one by one. First of all, I would do the following. I would make sure that I would choose an action color. That should be an action color, and then a background color. So something that's static. So when people see orange, they know they can click it. When they see dark blue, they know that's just for the decoration. That's just a decoration, right? You don't actually have to click it. So that should be something that, the unconscious mind immediately picks up. You have some blue, obviously, but then you have some key areas, some key action areas where you have to click. And that bright color, whether it's orange or green or whatever, just stands out, right? So basically, you're not dealing with the conscious mind, but with the unconscious mind. So that's a trick that everybody does in web design, and you should definitely do it. If you go for the monochromatic approach for the one single color, that's really difficult to do. And in general, people need to make more of a conscious effort to actually find things. You actually have to think about it. And although that seems very crazy, when you're designing a website, you have to make sure that people don't think about it at all, that they go effortlessly through it, right? It's like, shopping on a website should be like falling down a flight of stairs. You just do it. You instinctively know how to do it, It's just a one-way road. There's no detours. You're going that way, and that's that. And the way you're going should be towards the checkout and the order confirmation page. That's that. You shouldn't put anything in between. So by not choosing this type of combination, color combination, something for an action, something for the decorative purposes, you're not doing a great job. I see that you do have some type of background here, but again, just look at the color picker. This is basically white, right? If we're talking about something like this, or maybe something like this, okay, sure, then you're doing a fairly good job, but being so high up in the color picker is not great. Let's keep on going. You have one font here, you have another font here. That's not cool. You should keep it one single font, especially since this doesn't seem to match this one. I think you actually stole something from a different place, and you basically did not adjust the font here. That's how it looks like. I may be wrong, but I'm about 70% confident that this is a different font versus this one. Another thing, the biggest call to action, the biggest button here is this one. This is the most important one. Statistically speaking, this is the most clicked button on a website, on all websites. So that's a statistic I've seen. Not this one, not the search, this is the one, right? Because this is the one, you should make it a filled button, not an outline. You should show its importance. Another thing, never add drop shadow to your text if you're dealing with a light background. I'll say that again. Never add a drop shadow if you're dealing with a black text on a light background. Should I say that a third time? I think you got it though. The main menu should be separated by the header. By using a simple rectangle, blue rectangle, the text layer should be white, and that would really tie it together. This is basically for snipers and ants. This is way too small. It doesn't make any sense. It's not clear if we have to click it or if this is just a featured set or something like that. Another thing, the square edges, they don't do it for me, especially since here you have rounded ones, 5 pixel corner radius. That's not a good look. And clients especially hate this specific thing. So we have a rectangle here, another one here, and another one here. So what I've heard on 99 Designs is that they don't want blocks. They don't want blocks or they don't want templates. This is what they mean. They hate this type of thing. Again, from my experience. Again, you basically have the same thing here, which I'm not sure why you did that. You did increase the text just a bit, or maybe you changed the anti-aliasing, which is not a good look. Yeah, this is basically just a mess. The images here are very poor. Too much all caps. You didn't actually replace the text layers here. The number of stars is useless if you don't show the number of reviews. I think that's a no-brainer. Yeah, unfortunately, this has way too many problems. This text, I think this is 10 or 11 pixels. This is way too small. You need more padding here, more empty space, more space to breathe. The line height here needs to be significantly increased. The background photo is terrible because you distorted it. You can see it's really tiny. It should be way taller. So that's really a problem. These links are again unclickable because they're so tiny and they're so close together. And obviously this is again something that's extremely tiny and it just doesn't work. I love your social media icons. That's a positive. I hate the fact that you didn't put an actual phone number here. I don't think that's a great way to go about it. Yeah, and again, unfortunately, just having these rectangles, just carve their section by fourths is not a good look. You can see that there are so many things here that are forced, basically. Even the titles here, you have these ones which have a different size, and then you have this one here which is totally different. So yeah, overall, this is a very disappointing design. I strongly suggest you look at Mastered Web Design in Photoshop, and by watching it and following and applying those rules, you're gonna have a much better time with it. Let's see if there are any type of feedback or questions or whatever. Yep. Yeah. No, I think that's it. I know I haven't organized another contest, but yeah, I just didn't have the time to do so. Here's a different version. Okay. Again, the typeface, I hate it. I don't think it's a good look. The background, I love it. I think this is much better. I think all those elements play with it really nicely. The phone number, it's hit or miss, because is this on Instagram? If this is on Instagram, the swipe up should probably take you directly to the website. If this is a phone number, then I would think, actually, come to think of it, I think only a handful of people actually use phone numbers in their ads. And from my experience, from my limited experience on marketing, online marketing, especially selling online, only people that sell really crazy expensive stuff actually put a phone number. So when you're trying to sell a house, when you're an attorney and you want to take a case, when you're selling airplanes and high-end jewelry and whatnot, then a phone call makes sense. But for most businesses, for most websites, just bring them to a landing page or the actual website. That's what you want. Make them actually click on it, and that's that. Because if this is an Instagram story, which I believe it's the right format for it, what am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to to go back and forth or get a piece of paper and actually write it down? It doesn't actually make sense. Or is this a type of design where I actually click the phone number and then an action comes in and I can actually call you? I highly doubt that's the case. I highly doubt you can actually click the phone number and you can actually call the people on the other side of the phone. I think most often than not, that's a click that sends you to a link or a web page. So by adding the phone number, it doesn't make any sense, right? If that's a banner, it doesn't make any sense. Okay, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I'm gonna tune in back on Sunday, and hopefully I'm gonna create a contest in between. We'll see what's what. I'm going for a run. Take care of your body and, stay healthy, stay positive, and I'll see you on Sunday. Thank you so much. This is Chris signing out. Bye.